So the Tsarina series, which is a planned quartet of novels, deals with the unique century of female reign in Russia, which actually flew in the face of a very brutal, well-established patriarchy. So we have this very interesting juxtaposition. My novel, which is published this week, The Tsarina's Daughter, is the sequel to Tsarina, and it's about the Empress Elizabeth, Martha's daughter, or Catherine I's daughter, who lives her mother to the inverse because she falls from unimaginable riches to desperate rags and then rises from rags to Romanov, also thanks to a very unlikely love story and a very big passion.
It is based on elements of truth. Which elements of the novel are known to be true, and how did you go about researching it?
It is more than elements of truth, Alicia, because actually I did a year of research because before I dared writing the first sentence. Naivety protects very often in life. You might know that yourself. And I had no idea which strange, shocking, and sensuous world of almost Tolkienist dimensions I would enter. So you can almost compare my novels to an ice dance. You have the duty piece and you have the free piece. The duty piece is I'm a stickler for historical detail. Everything is right. Where they are at which moment, what they say, how they speak, what they wear, how they live, um, how they interact. In the same time, both my heroines are incredibly modern women who refuse to go a path that has been chosen for them, but who act by their own volition and who accept that their way for that is often much harder. And I think that makes these novels so interesting. Also for Russia, because both novels are double Cinderella stories. You understand Russia's transformation from backward nation to the beginnings of the modern superpower we have today, and not so much has really changed.
How did you go about developing these characters? Did you find that history, looking back, history helped you, or did it restrict some of your ideas where you wanted to go and you think that probably wouldn't be accurate?
Both, because something that shocked me while I did my research was coming across this constant maltreatment of women and how little possibilities or hope there was actually for the feminine gender in those days. And then actually asking myself, so how did these women manage? What was it really like? Yesterday, an interviewer asked me, so why didn't you write a biography? And I answered, because being human is having emotions. And both Tsarina and the Tsarina's daughter is pure emotive power between book covers, if you so wish. It is a very early girl power, these women who just dare to rise above their sex.
Why did you decide you wanted to start writing and get into doing this, creating these novels and these worlds?
I think that decision was taken very early on because I grew up in the African highlands where my father worked as a vet. My elder brothers were in boarding school. I had no television. I had a book bundle delivered once a month from my godmother who worried about my soul living far out in Africa. And I had plenty of pets whom I dressed up and I made them listen to my story so that they had no choice. Later on, when we moved back to Europe, I was very unhappy. I was very lonely. I was bullied at school. We had moved to a tiny village where, anything or everybody who was different from what was known was perceived as strange, weird, dangerous. And in those moments too, actually reading and literature was my only hope. Every week I went to the library and I would come home with this washing basket of books. And I think reading books like I, Claudius or Désirée or Angélique, the big historical novels of the 20th century, made me wish to do the same. And then I had teachers who always encouraged me and I said, you have a gift, you're talented, you should foster that. And at the age of 17, I was very lucky because Germany's biggest newspaper chose to publish an article that I had written and just sent in without being asked for it, of course. And that gave me such a boost.
You brought out both books in fairly quick succession, this one just a year after. Has the pandemic helped you write the second within a year?
Not really. It was strange because, of course, I had such high hopes for my debut, Serena, and that came really out in the middle of the pandemic. And so I was lucky in one sense that I got so many reviews because other books had been pulled off the market. And then somehow I was just caught in this maelstrom. And I think a lot of people during the pandemic had the experience that the lines between the private life and the public life, office, writing, whatever work it is you do, blur. And it's very difficult to just switch off. Whilst before I would say, right, 9:30 to 2:30, I write, then I go and pick up my children from school. I could not really do that anymore. So this blurring of lines, I think, can lead to an exhaustion. Even if before I had said who should deal better with working in a pandemic than a writer, because you have your rich inner world, but it is difficult. Of course, we too are do have to submit to these stringencies of separating our lives.